When the wedding invitation arrived, I almost tossed it into the recycling without thinking. It was one of those cream-colored cards with calligraphy that looked like it belonged in a period drama. Please join us as Robert Hale and Anna Bennett are united in marriage. The date. The venue. The RSVP. Everything else was tastefully muted. I didn't toss it because I thought it was a joke. I didn't toss it because I wanted to watch the spectacle. I kept it because, ridiculous though the idea was, it felt like the polite thing to do. He was my father. He had been a man who made mistakes and promises and then owned both. He had a way of being quietly apologetic about the past and overly hopeful about the future. If he wanted me there, I would go. That was the rule we'd always lived by. The truth? I was only 32. My father was 56. That math is easy to process until you realize the new bride's age was printed in a sentence they had both rehearsed and mailed out to 100 relatives. Anna, 33. A year older than me. That detail, simple, numerical, made the card look obscene when I considered it without the gilding. I ran my thumb along the edge of the invitation until it softened the paper. For a long, quiet minute I sat on the edge of my bed and thought about how strange it all was. My dad, the man who used to take me to the park on Saturdays and read me the same dog-eared children's book until I memorized the pages, stepping into a new life with someone who could have been my friend rather than my stepmother. It wasn't that I was bitter by default. My life at 32 was not perfect either, divorced, a freelancer, learning to keep steady, but I had imagined that if my father ever remarried, the woman would be older than me. Maybe even older than him by a few years. I had pictured a partner who could ground him in ways a peer couldn't, someone who would complement his quiet gravity rather than mirror my generation's jokes and slang. He'd called 3 times before I RSVP'd, voice buoyant and almost childlike. I know it's weird, love, he said. But Anna, she's brilliant. She gets me. Please, come. It would mean the world. I told him yes, and then I told myself I could handle it. That was the first lie. The arrival, familiar faces, different air. The ceremony was set in a small vineyard chapel on the outskirts of town. Light slanted through the long windows and caught on the summer dust like someone shaking a perfume bottle. Old family friends clustered in groups that made clicking sounds with laughter, the sort that comes from people who have long since decided on certain loyalties and jokes. The officiant was a college friend of my father's. The floral arrangements were restrained. The playlist was the kind of background music that everyone hears but no one remembers. I walked in with my sister Claire, who had been quietly furious for the month between the engagement announcement and the wedding. Claire had taken my stance more personally than I had, maybe because she was 30 and felt like the reasonable sibling to my whimsical one. She hugged me once that said everything we were both feeling: do not let this be a circus, keep it together, watch for his hands. He hugged me like he always did when he wanted to put the world back together. Warmth, the smell of the soap he'd used since I was a child, and the way his eyelids drooped in that tired, tender way that meant he'd been rehearsing his feelings for years and never really expected to say them out loud. And then Anna appeared. Everyone turned. She walked in alone and for a split second I felt like a stranger at my own life. She wore ivory but it wasn't bridal fairy, it was sharply tailored, modern, like a suit for someone who lived horizontally. Her hair was a cropped bob, dark and glossy. She laughed, with an easy sound that seemed designed to charm and disarm, and when she saw my father she moved like someone approaching a long-anticipated prize. They joined hands and looked radiant. Maybe they were. People around them muttered how right they looked. They had chosen a short, civil ceremony. My father's vows were less poetry and more the soft clearing of a throat, but they were honest. You make me want to be better. You make me laugh in ways I forgot I could laugh. Anna said things that made cheeks in the front row wet. She spoke about late-night conversations and shared books, the kind of intimacy that forms when two people discover they like the same, particular things. There was warmth. There was history, or an impression of it. But while everyone else took photos and whispered congratulations, a part of me remained outside of the frame, scanning. She moved like she belonged to him the way a scarf seems to belong to a neck. I felt a small, cold motion. I was looking at a woman my age, 90% of her life still ahead of her in years she hadn't yet spent, and she'd become the person my father would call wife. The first glare, a provocation I didn't see coming. After the ceremony we drifted into the courtyard. Glasses clinked. People greeted and asked the necessary questions: work, travel, how the new haircut looked. Someone handed me a champagne flute. I took it and sipped because doing anything but participate felt rude. Then, as the parents of the bride and groom were posed for a photo, Anna glanced in my direction. Our eyes met, and for a single heartbeat there was nothing remarkable, an acknowledgement, maybe, of the biological fact that we were close in age. But her gaze hardened in a way that felt intentional. She gave a small, curt smile, one that didn't include her eyes. Then she walked over, stopping a step away from me, and the world seemed to compress. "You must be Hannah," she said. Her voice was bright, businesslike. "I'm Anna." "Yes," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Hi. Congratulations." She tilted her head, studied me the way someone scrutinizes an ingredient label, then smiled again, but not in a warm way. "How old are you?" she asked, like it was a small, pleasant test. 32, I replied. The number sounded large in the polite summer air. She blinked with faux innocence. "Oh. Close to my age." "A beat. Does that make things complicated?" Her smile was faintly teasing now. The air around her had shifted from convivial to competitive. I felt irritation fray the polite veneer. "No," I said carefully. "It's complicated in all sorts of ways." I meant the marriage, not the age gap, but she chose to hear what suited her. She laughed, but the laugh had a knife in it. "I hope you don't stand in the way of our happiness," she said, and there was a deliberately casual cruelty in the phrasing. Her tone implied something I couldn't yet name. "Of course not," I said. I meant it. I had always meant it, at least outwardly. But the polite answer tasted hollow. She took a breath as if to say more, then turned and moved away. Her fingers brushed my father's elbow so familiarly that a small annoyance flared in my chest. It shouldn't have. He was a grown man who could choose. But I felt the old spooning up of resentment. My childhood is rearranged and she is the new furniture. Claire squeezed my arm. "She's testing you," she muttered. "Watch yourself." The snap, a private sentence that fell publicly. We drifted to the table where other cousins sat. Laughter rose and fell. The band started a soft song. Everything hummed along until Anna returned with my father's glass and paused within earshot. She looked at me, and for the first time she didn't bother with small talk. Her voice lowered so the people nearest could still catch her words. "What are you?" she started, and the punctuation in the air hung as though the rest of the sentence might be anything. It was then, in the angle of her jaw, in the set of her shoulders, that the entire pattern became clear to me. She would not accept a quietly submitted role. She wanted to define every interaction on her terms. She wanted to eliminate ambiguity by exposing it. She snapped the rest in a tone that made everyone at the nearest tables turn. "What are you doing here, Hannah? Don't you have somewhere else to be?" Gasps hummed like a stretched wire. My father looked startled, color draining briefly from his face. Some guests glanced down at their plates, uncomfortable for the obvious reason. The new wife had just humiliated her future stepdaughter in front of friends and family. I felt my heartbeat slow and lengthen. It was a curiously calm, clinical thing. A stranger might have thought I was frozen in shock. What I felt was steadier than that, a cold, rose-tinted clarity. This was not an accident. This was a first strike. I had expected awkwardness. I had not expected a public provocation. The band faltered in its tempo, and somewhere, a fork clinked against a plate in a way that sounded like an ending chord. Around me the room resumed its small conversations, but I could feel the scrape of the words settling onto bright tablecloths like dust. My father looked at me, then at Anna, then back to me. His eyes were wet in a way that made my stomach flip, because I saw in them not triumph or defiance, but something fragile and afraid. He hadn't expected her to humiliate me in public either, I realized, and the realization gave me a kind of terrible pity for both of them. I said nothing then, which in itself was a choice. I lifted my glass, and the champagne glittered. The night carried on, and the wedding would have its photos and its laughs. But in my chest, something hardened into shape. This would not pass without consequence. Some insults bruise the ego. Others bruise the bond. And the ones delivered in public? They bruise the future. After Anna snapped at me, loudly enough for the nearby tables to fall silent, the wedding atmosphere shifted in a way only perceptive people sense. The lights didn't dim. The band didn't miss a beat. But the energy changed. Conversations resumed, but with lowered tones. People stole glances at me, then at her, as if trying to decide what story would be whispered later in cars on the ride home. My father looked at me with an expression I hadn't seen since childhood, a strange blend of guilt, fear, and helplessness. Like a man watching something valuable slip through his fingers. It was the moment I understood. I wasn't the only one Anna intended to dominate. She wanted control of the entire narrative, including him. But confronting her in public would have given her exactly what she wanted, a scene. A reaction. Evidence that I was the problem. So instead, I breathed, smiled faintly, and lifted my glass. Silent. Deadly polite. She flinched at my calmness, just a tiny flicker, but I saw it. Predators expect prey, not mirrors. And prey? Prey survives by being underestimated. My father's panic, and his first mistake. The guests shifted back into the rhythm of the event, but my father couldn't. He kept glancing toward me from across the courtyard, visibly rattled, as if waiting for me to explode or cry or demand something. I did none of those things. I waited. He finally approached when Anna was being pulled away by her bridesmaids and cousins. "Hannah," he said, voice low, strained. "Honey, are you okay?" "I'm fine." "No, you're not fine." He rubbed the back of his neck. A lifelong tell. I didn't expect her to say that. I'm so sorry. I took a sip of champagne. "Dad," I said quietly, "you don't have to apologize for her." He looked like I'd punched him. "No, I do. I feel like I should." She was out of line. Completely. "I don't know what." "You chose her," I murmured softly. "You did. And maybe that's okay. But you chose her." He swallowed. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I didn't shame him. My composure made him sweat more than yelling ever could have. He tried again. "Please, don't take this the wrong way. She gets nervous around family. She overcompensates. I'm sure she didn't mean." "Dad." I finally met his eyes. I heard exactly what she meant. He blanched. For a moment, I almost pitied him. Almost. He whispered, "Please don't leave. It's my wedding day." And that? That was the line that fractured something in me. Because for the first time in my life, he wasn't trying to understand my feelings. He was trying to contain his wife's reaction. Anna wasn't the only one who needed to be handled. He was afraid of her. And he feared losing me, but not enough to do anything meaningful about it. That told me everything. The dance, when kindness turns into tension. The first dance was painful to watch. Not because of the love on display, but because of what wasn't. Anna danced with my father like she was performing for the room rather than embracing him. Her smile gleamed. Her posture was perfect. Her hand positioning was practiced like choreography she'd rehearsed in a mirror. But my father? His shoulders were tight. His smile was too hard, too frozen. He looked like a man doing emotional balance calculations. What will she do if I upset her? What will my daughter do if I retreat? How do I keep everyone from exploding? He shouldn't have been thinking those thoughts at his wedding. But that was the marriage he chose. And the worst part? Anna was watching me the entire time over his shoulder. The entire song. Every turn. Every dip. Every beat. She didn't see a daughter. She saw competition. Which meant one thing. She was insecure in ways she hadn't admitted, even to herself. And insecure people do reckless things. She makes her next move, a honeyed trap. After the dance, as guests drifted toward dessert tables, Anna approached me again, alone this time. Her lips were glossed, her smile tight, her tone thick with sugary diplomacy. "Can we talk for a second?" she asked. I set down my drink. "Sure." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Listen. I know things got a little tense earlier." "A little," I repeated. She ignored the dryness in my tone. "I didn't mean to upset you. It's just, today is emotional, you know? High pressure. A lot of eyes on me." "Of course. But I want us to get along," she said. She forced a soft laugh. "We should be friends. Or something close. Family, right?" I smiled politely. I'm always open to being respectful. That's the foundation of any family. She froze at the word respectful. It wasn't what she wanted. She wanted submission. Deference. Acknowledgement that she controlled the room. Her eyes narrowed for a second, barely perceptible, before she plastered on a gentle expression. "I hope you won't hold what I said against me. I truly didn't mean." "You meant enough of it to say it publicly," I interrupted softly. "And that?" That was the moment the mask cracked. Her lips tightened. Her posture stiffened. She wasn't used to being called out gently. People like her expect explosions, so they can point and say, "See? You're the problem." But I didn't explode. I remained composed. And nothing terrifies a manipulator more than a calm opponent. The shift in her eyes, fear of losing control. She blinked at me, caught between anger and uncertainty. Then she leaned in, almost too close, and whispered. "Just remember, no matter how old we are, I'm the woman your father chose." "Interesting perspective," I murmured. "Does it comfort you?" She jerked slightly, as if the question had slapped her. People don't expect their insecurities to be named. Especially not so quietly. Especially not by the person they tried to humiliate. Her face tightened, but she forced a smile anyway. "I'm sure we'll find our place with each other." "I'm certain we will," I said. Because now I understood. Anna wasn't trying to push me away. She was trying to establish dominance in a family she felt threatened by. I wasn't her rival. I was her insecurity. And insecure people eventually reveal the cracks you need to dismantle them later. My sister's warning, and a new piece of information. Claire found me near the photo booth 10 minutes later. "Hannah," she hissed, "I just overheard something." "What?" "One of Anna's bridesmaids said this isn't the first time she's tried to push out a partner's family." I raised an eyebrow. "Meaning?" "She dates older men. She tries to become the center of their world. She isolates them from people who matter." Ah. There it was. The full picture. This wasn't about age. This wasn't about me. This was about control. She didn't want a husband. She wanted a kingdom. And she'd chosen my father because he was gentle, kind-hearted, and vulnerable in ways he didn't see. I exhaled slowly. Claire looked at me. "What are you going to do?" I smiled. "A lot less than she thinks, and a lot more than she expects." Because I wasn't going to fight Anna head-on. I didn't need to. She'd already given me everything I needed. Her insecurity. Her obsession with appearances. Her need for approval. Her tendency to overplay her hand. If she wanted to isolate my father, Then I would make sure every one of her attempts backfired publicly and cleanly, with no blood on my hands. My revenge wouldn't be loud. It would be silent, inevitable, and designed to make her unravel herself. People who manipulate always make one fatal mistake. They think no one notices until it's too late. After the wedding's tense blow-up, Anna switched tactics. Gone was the sharp-tongued woman who snapped at me in front of a table full of guests. Gone was the icy competitor who tried to stake her territory with dominance disguised as charm. Now, she tried to behave like a sweet new bride. Considerate, warm, graceful, generous. But sweetness from someone who thrives on control isn't sweet. It's strategic. And the shift came so fast that even my father seemed dazed by it. The honeymoon phase, fake, fast, and dangerous. For the first few weeks after the wedding, my father called me more than usual. At first, I assumed he was just trying to maintain the bond between us. But it wasn't that. It was something else, something fragile, frightened. He didn't say it outright, but I could hear the subtext in the pauses between his words. Please don't disappear. Please don't leave me alone with her anger. Please don't make me choose. He never spoke the words. My father is a gentle man, not a confrontational one, but every call felt like he was taking role. Making sure I still existed in his life. And every time the line went quiet, I knew she was nearby. Listening. Watching. Taking inventory of his loyalties. One evening, after he hung up, I received a text from an unknown number. Anna, please stop calling so late. It disrupts our evenings. Except he was the one calling me. At 7:30 p.m., which isn't late by anyone's standards. So I replied. Me, he called me. You may want to clarify with him. 2 minutes of silence. Then. Anna, just trying to create boundaries. Boundaries. Funny. Manipulators don't want boundaries. They want borders they control. I didn't respond. It wasn't worth giving her oxygen. The first slip, a manipulator reveals their hand. A week later, my father invited me to brunch. He sounded hesitant, like he wasn't sure he was allowed to. When I arrived at the restaurant, he hugged me tightly, too tightly. Dad was losing weight. Not drastically, not in a way most people would notice. But I noticed. He had always been sturdy, physically and emotionally. Now, both seemed thinner. How's married life? I asked lightly. He gave a weak smile. It's good. It's really good. The pause between the two goods told me the truth. Is she not adjusting well? I asked gently. He stared at his coffee. I think she feels insecure, he said finally. She says she feels judged. Misunderstood. By who? He didn't need to say it. I already knew. Dad, I said softly, did I do something to her? He hesitated. Always the sign of a rehearsed answer. No, honey. He exhaled shakily. She feels like you don't welcome her. My eyebrows lifted. She feels like I don't welcome her? He nodded, embarrassed. And how does she treat me? I asked calmly. Dad's silence said more than words. He wasn't clueless. He wasn't blind. He was hoping the tension would magically dissolve if he ignored it. But marriages built on denial don't dissolve tension. They ferment it. And then the first attempt to isolate me. As we finished our brunch, Anna called him. His phone lit up with her name and photo, the photo she insisted he use, no doubt. He excused himself and stepped outside to answer. He didn't take the call in front of me. That told me everything. I watched through the window as he spoke on the sidewalk. His posture was sloped, head lowered, one hand rubbing the back of his neck, his lifelong sign of stress. Anna was talking. He wasn't speaking much at all. He blinked several times, nodded, and finally said something quick and submissive. When he returned, his face was flushed with embarrassment. I should go, he said quietly. She needs me home. She? I asked. He winced. It's nothing. She's just not feeling well. Of course. She wasn't unwell. She was upset that he was with me. I let him go, but I watched him leave with a sinking feeling in my chest, the kind reserved for watching someone you love step into a cage they don't realize they're in. Her first direct attempt to remove me. 2 days later, I got a call from my aunt, my father's sister. Her voice was sharp. Hannah, I just got off the phone with your father. What did you do? My stomach tightened. Do? About what? He said you were rude to Anna. That you didn't give her a chance. He sounded genuinely upset. I stood still. Not shocked. Just disappointed. Because this was classic manipulation tactic number 1. Rewrite the narrative before the other person can. I knew exactly what had happened. Anna had whispered to him. She hates me. She won't accept me. She's disrespectful. She wants to come between us. And because he feared conflict, he believed enough of it to repeat it. Not deliberately betraying me. Just not defending me. And in family dynamics, silence is betrayal too. I exhaled slowly. Aunt Marie, I said, I wasn't rude. Anna snapped at me, publicly. She went quiet. That doesn't sound like her. Oh, it does, I said calmly. You just don't know her yet. Another pause. I see, she said finally. I could tell she was trying to process the situation diplomatically. But the real point was, Anna was already tampering with my father's perception. And if she thought a smear campaign would make me back down, she had grossly underestimated me. The night I decided to fight back. That night, I replayed everything. Anna's snap at the wedding. Her attempt to guilt-trip me through my father. Her insistence on controlling his phone calls. The way she isolated him with boundaries. The sudden shift of blame onto me. Then I replayed my father's posture on the sidewalk. How he shrank. How he apologized for nothing. How he didn't defend me, because he was trying to keep peace. And that's when I made a decision. I wouldn't attack Anna. I would expose her. To him. To everyone. With her own actions, not my accusations. Manipulators destroy themselves when given enough space. My job? Give her the stage. Let her talk. Let her slip. Let her unravel. I wouldn't raise my voice. I wouldn't make threats. I wouldn't confront her directly. I would let reality do the talking. And reality always reveals who a person truly is. And her first major slip came fast. The very next morning, my phone buzzed. A text from my father. Can we talk later? Anna is upset again. Again. That one word told me everything. My reply? Me, of course. But she should be there for the conversation. I knew she wouldn't agree. If she wanted to manipulate privately, she would avoid public clarity like poison. And just as expected. 5 minutes later. Anna, from his phone, now is not a good time. I smiled. Not because it was funny. But because she had no idea what she just revealed. She was controlling his phone. His communication. His schedule. His relationships. And the more she tightened her grip, the easier it would be to catch her slipping. Because insecure people overreach. And overreach leads to downfall. Manipulators can hide their intentions in private. But they always slip in front of someone they can't afford to impress. Anna had been careful. Calculating. Strategic. She tried to make every move look like a misunderstanding or a boundary, not the deliberate isolation it actually was. But manipulation is like balancing glass. It looks smooth for a while. Then one wrong shift, one moment of pressure, and the facade fractures. Now Anna's glass finally cracks. The week everything shifted. My father grew quieter as the days passed. Not because he was angry. Because he was confused. Confusion is the first symptom of manipulation. He started canceling plans last minute. Started texting instead of calling. Started apologizing for things he didn't need to apologize for. And the worst part? Every time we spoke, Anna was within earshot. I could hear her silence. The listening. The monitoring. The evaluation. So instead of pulling him away, I pulled back. Not to punish him, but to give Anna space to overplay her hand. People like her always do. And when they do, it's spectacular. The event she couldn't control. 2 weeks later, my father's old law school friend, a judge named Marjorie Hensley, hosted a retirement dinner. Judge Hensley was the kind of woman Anna desperately wanted to impress. Well-connected. Elegant. Respected. Brutally intelligent. But she was also the last person you tried to manipulate. Her eyes filtered people the way X-rays filter bones. She saw to the marrow. When Dad invited me, his voice held a tremor. Anna will be there, he said cautiously, but I really want you to come. Marjorie loves you. Of course I'll come, I said. He let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. The dinner was held at an upscale restaurant downtown. Tall windows. Low lighting. Staff who moved like shadows. My father wore a navy suit that fit him perfectly. Anna wore a sleek black dress, elegant, expensive-looking, understated. She didn't greet me. She didn't even look at me. But I saw the tension in her jaw. She wanted tonight to go her way. She needed it to. Which meant she was primed to slip. Judge Hensley, the woman who broke the script. When Judge Hensley arrived, the room shifted. She had that effect, like someone turning on bright, precise lighting in a dim room. She hugged my father warmly. "Hannah," she exclaimed. "Look at you, still sharp as ever. I still remember your debate in 8th grade. You shredded a 20-year-old case statute like it was tissue paper." I laughed. She always remembered the smallest things. Then Judge Hensley turned to Anna. "And you must be the new Mrs. Hale." Anna beamed. "Yes. It's so lovely to meet you, Judge Hensley. Robert has told me so much about you." "I'm sure he has," the judge said smoothly. "It's wonderful to finally meet the woman who has brought new dynamics into the family." Anna blinked at the choice of words. New dynamics. Not happiness. Not love. Not joy. Dynamics. A neutral word that felt like a scalpel. Anna recovered with a laugh. "Oh, I just want everything to be harmonious." Judge Hensley raised an eyebrow. "Do you?" It wasn't hostile. It was observational. And Anna didn't expect it. She stiffened. Then smiled wider. A mistake. When insecure people feel threatened, they start performing. She takes the bait. Throughout dinner, the judge kept shifting the conversation toward family relationships, subtly but intentionally. "How are you settling into married life, Anna? How are you finding Robert's family traditions? How do you all balance new bonds and old ones?" Questions harmless on the surface, but sharp underneath. Anna, flustered but eager to impress, answered each with sugary enthusiasm. "We're doing great. I'm integrating beautifully. Oh, I love his family, we're all getting along so well." And that's when the judge glanced at me. "Hannah, you agree?" Every person at the table turned to hear my response. Anna froze. She didn't want me to speak. She wanted control of the narrative. I smiled gently. "I'm giving the relationship space to grow," I said. A diplomatic truth. But the judge saw the tension. She always did. She tapped her wine glass lightly, then said, "Space is key. Especially when adjustments are complicated." That word again. Complicated. Anna's fingers tightened around her fork. The moment she lost control. Then, in a moment that felt almost preordained, the conversation shifted to the wedding. One of my father's old colleagues said, "It was a beautiful ceremony. Everyone looked wonderful. Especially your daughters, Robert." My father laughed awkwardly. "Only one daughter." The colleague blinked. "Oh. I assumed Anna was." "She's 33, Dad clarified." The colleague nodded politely. The judge, however, tilted her head, observing the tension that flickered across Anna's face. Anna rushed to take control. "Yes, isn't it funny how close in age Hannah and I are," she said too brightly. "Sometimes I feel like she thinks I'm intruding." People chuckled awkwardly. Then Judge Hensley, surgical as ever, said, "That's an interesting choice of words." Anna blinked. "What do you mean?" "Intruding implies stepping somewhere you weren't invited," the judge said calmly. "Is that how you feel in the family?" Anna stiffened. No, of course not. I just meant, well," she laughed too loudly. "You know how adult children can be. A little territorial." Territorial. The word sliced through the air. My father stiffened. He knew what she meant. The judge's eyes sharpened. "Oh. Territorial how?" Anna, realizing too late she'd provoked a cross-examination, fumbled. "Well. Hannah can be a bit critical. She hasn't exactly welcomed me with open arms." The entire table went silent. Everyone's gaze flicked to me. Judge Hensley stared at Anna with a cool, assessing expression. She then asked, "And what exactly has Hannah done to make you feel unwelcome?" A simple question. A devastating one. Because Anna had nothing. She had no examples. No incidents. No evidence. Only insecurity. And now, everyone knew. Anna floundered. It's more of a feeling, really." The judge's eyebrows lifted. A feeling. Not a fact. Anna swallowed hard. Her cheeks reddened. Her posture crumpled. She had been publicly cornered. Not by me. By her own words. And now, everyone at the table, including my father, saw the crack in her narrative. A narrative she had worked so hard to manufacture. The shift in my father's eyes, he finally sees it. After dinner, as people mingled, my father pulled me aside. He looked shaken. "Hannah," he whispered, "I didn't know she felt that way. I thought she was just nervous." "She's not nervous," I said softly. "She's insecure. And she wants control." He stared at the floor. I saw the way she talked tonight. I saw how anxious she was about appearances. I saw how defensive she got when questioned. His voice cracked. "Why didn't I see this before?" I placed a hand on his arm. "Because you wanted love," I whispered. "And sometimes wanting love blinds us to the cost." He closed his eyes. A long, pained exhale. Then he said the words I'd been waiting for. "I need to look at this more closely. Not divorce. Not guilt. Not blame. Just clarity." And clarity was the first step in my quiet revenge. Because now the seed was planted. Not by me. By her. And seeds like that only grow in one direction. When someone builds their power on illusion, all it takes is one moment of clarity to make their entire empire collapse. After the dinner with Judge Hensley, Anna was shaken. Not outwardly, she tried to keep her spine straight, her smile tight, her voice light. But internally? She was spiraling. Manipulators cannot handle being questioned publicly. Their power exists only in controlled spaces, whispers, closed doors, private conversations where they design the narrative. But being asked a simple question she couldn't answer. What exactly has Hannah done to make you feel unwelcome? Had stripped her mask clean off. People had seen it. My father had seen it. And worst of all, she had seen herself lose control. That's when the unraveling began. The next morning, the fight she couldn't hide. The morning after the dinner, my phone buzzed. A text from my father. Can we talk soon? Things escalated after we got home. My stomach dropped. I called immediately. He answered on the second ring, sounding exhausted. Dad? He sighed. She exploded. I waited. He continued. She said I embarrassed her. That I didn't defend her. That I let people interrogate her. That she felt ganged up on. And did you defend me? I asked gently. He was quiet. Then he said something I would never forget. I tried to defend both of you, and she said that was betrayal. There it was. The ultimatum. The defining feature of control. People like Anna don't want relationships. They want possession. Dad, I said softly, what did she expect you to do? He exhaled shakily. She wanted me to confront you. To tell you to stop undermining her. I closed my eyes. And what did you say? I refused, he whispered. For the first time. I told her no. A shiver ran through me. This was the beginning of the shift. The moment a controlled person realizes they can say no. And how did she respond? I asked. He laughed bitterly. She packed a bag and left. Not forever, people like her never leave without a plan. But to punish him. To make him chase. To make him apologize. To make him prove loyalty. But my father wasn't chasing. Not this time. And Anna had no idea how that small refusal would collapse everything she'd worked to build. Her escalation, manipulation turned desperate. 3 hours later, my phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. Anna, he told me what you did. Congratulations. You've driven a wedge between us. I let out a humorless laugh. People like Anna never say, I'm losing control. They say, you made me lose control. I didn't reply. She needed silence more than she needed attention. 5 minutes later. Anna, you should be ashamed. Fathers and daughters shouldn't be this close at his age. It's unhealthy. There it was. The real threat. The attempt to weaponize intimacy. To pathologize the bond she couldn't break. Still, I didn't respond. Silence is a mirror manipulators hate, because it reflects their own voice back at them. 30 minutes later. Anna, if he chooses you over me, he'll die alone. And then. Anna, you want him to be miserable. And finally. Anna, you'll regret this. I turned off my phone. Her unraveling was complete. My father's breaking point, and his clarity. The next day, he asked to meet. He looked like someone who had aged 10 years overnight. We sat on a park bench, the same park where he used to take me as a child. He rubbed his face with both hands. I didn't see it, he said. I didn't see any of it. It's hard to see something you're inside of, I replied. She kept saying you were manipulating me, he said softly. That you wanted to push her out. That you were jealous. He winced. I almost believed her. But you didn't, I said gently. He nodded. Not after last night. We sat quietly for a moment. Then I asked the question I'd been avoiding. Are you happy with her, Dad? He looked out across the park. Children were running. Dogs were barking. A couple was sharing coffee, laughing softly. He watched all of it. Then said, I don't think I ever was. I think I was just lonely. That sentence broke me. Not in a painful way, but in a way that reveals truth you've been avoiding. And now? I asked. He swallowed hard. Now I'm afraid. Of what? Of spending the rest of my life with someone who doesn't love me, only needs me. I placed my hand over his. Dad, I said softly, you deserve to be loved for exactly who you are, not for how well you can be controlled. He closed his eyes. A single tear slid down his cheek. Not grief. Relief. Her final attempt to regain control. 2 days later, Anna returned. Of course she did. Manipulators don't leave to move on. They leave to punish, and return when their absence doesn't produce the panic they expected. My father told me she came home dramatically, sobbing at the door, accusing him of abandoning her, claiming she felt unsafe, insisting he had to prove he was committed, demanding he cut off all toxic influences, meaning me. Then she said the words that sealed her fate. If you don't choose me, I'm leaving forever. My father didn't cry, didn't plead, didn't chase. He simply said, okay. Anna froze. Manipulators don't know what to do when their nuclear threat fails. You're choosing her? Anna hissed. No, he said quietly. I'm choosing my sanity. She screamed. Threw something. Stormed into the bedroom. And during that storm, he did something she never expected. He gathered her things. He placed them by the door. And he called a lawyer. My role, the quiet revenge, takes form. I didn't need to shout, scheme, expose, or manipulate. I didn't need to turn anyone against her. I didn't need to destroy her reputation. She did all of that herself. All I did was stay calm. Stay honest. Refuse to be controlled. Give her enough space to slip. Let my father see her without the mask. And that is the quietest, most devastating revenge. Making someone reveal themselves. In public. Without lifting a single finger. The loudest downfalls aren't caused by enemies. They're caused by the truths a person can no longer outrun. Anna thought she understood power. She believed control meant speaking the loudest, commanding the hardest, or manipulating the deepest. But real power? Real power reveals itself in 3 ways. Silence. Boundaries. Consequences. And she had never encountered all 3 at once. Until now. The day the papers arrived. When my father told her he had contacted a lawyer, Anna didn't believe him. Not at first. She laughed. A bright, sharp, sarcastic laugh that ricocheted off the living room walls. You're divorcing me, she scoffed. Because of her? Because your daughter can't handle you moving on? My father didn't respond. He simply handed her the envelope. The one with her name written neatly on the front. She tore it open. Read. Her face drained of color. This is a draft, she snapped. You wouldn't. I would, he said gently. The gentleness was what broke her. Because people who manipulate expect anger. They expect shouting. They expect drama. They do not expect calm. Calm means the decision is final. Calm means the heart has already left. Calm means they have lost. Her last attempt, the grand performance. She tried everything. 1. Apologies. Robert, please, I didn't mean anything I said. I was stressed. I was overwhelmed. I love you. 2. Tears. She cried until her mascara streaked down her cheeks. 3. Blame. This is what she wanted. She's been after us since day 1. She poisoned you. 4. Guilt. You're making the biggest mistake of your life. You will never find someone who loves you like I do. 5. Threats. I'll take everything. I'll ruin your reputation. I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of man you really are. But my father simply said, "Anna, stop." She froze. Not because the word was harsh, but because she heard something she had never heard in his voice before. Authority. Real, steady authority rooted in self-respect. "You don't love me," he said quietly. "You love my attention. And I can't live like that." She opened her mouth to argue. He raised a hand. "And I won't let you isolate me from my children. That ends now." Anna's mouth snapped shut. She wasn't expecting that. She wasn't expecting him to find his backbone. She certainly wasn't expecting me to be the reason he did. My conversation with her, the one she never asked for. 2 days later, she called me. Not to reconcile. Not to apologize. To lash out. "Are you happy now?" she spat. "You destroyed my marriage." "No," I said calmly. "You did." She sucked in a sharp breath. "How dare. You humiliated me at your wedding," I said. "You tried to isolate him. You lied about me to our family. You attacked his relationships. You controlled his time, his phone, his narrative. That's not. And you underestimated him. And me." Silence. Sharp. Cold. Charged. Then she hissed, "You think you won?" "This isn't a competition," I replied. "It's a reality you refuse to acknowledge. You're pathetic." "No," I said, "I'm just not afraid of you." She hung up. Her power was gone. Because now, everyone saw her. There was no more illusion to hide behind. The divorce that moved like clockwork. My father didn't drag the process out. He was firm, calm, and heartbreakingly practical. He offered her a fair settlement, nothing more, nothing less. She tried to fight it, but her own attorney advised her to take the deal. 1 year of marriage, he said. She's not entitled to much. She cried in the lobby of the courthouse. People walked around her. No one stopped. No one comforted her. Because the truth had finally surfaced. Anna was not a victim. She was an architect of her own collapse. The aftermath, healing doesn't happen all at once. My father didn't bounce back immediately. That's not how real healing works. He went through stages. Relief. Embarrassment. Anger at himself. Confusion. Sadness. Gratitude that he saw the truth early. He apologized to me more times than I can count. I didn't see her clearly, he said. I didn't listen to you. I'm so sorry. I know, I told him. But now you do. We didn't just rebuild our relationship. We deepened it. Because love isn't proven by blind loyalty. Love is proven by clarity and correction. Her final message, a desperate attempt to salvage her image. 3 months after the divorce, Anna sent me one last text. Anna, tell your father I'm doing fine. I never needed him anyway. I didn't reply. Some endings don't require words. Some endings simply require closure. And this one? Closed itself. The true revenge, not what she expected. People often think revenge means ruining someone. But real revenge? Real revenge is letting someone expose themselves. Letting consequences do the speaking. Giving truth time to shine. Watching a manipulator lose everything they tried to control. And the best part? I never screamed. Never plotted. Never sabotaged. I simply stayed steady. And let her dig her own grave. My father later said, "You saved me." I shook my head. No, you saved yourself. I just refused to disappear. The freedom he deserved. A year later, my father met someone new. A woman his age. Kind. Soft-spoken. Stable. Warm in ways Anna had never been. They started slowly. Carefully. Respectfully. My father laughed again, the quiet, genuine laugh he used to have before anxiety folded into his voice. He said to me over coffee one morning, "Thank you for not letting me mistake control for love." I smiled. Because that was all I ever wanted for him. A love that didn't demand loyalty at the expense of himself. A love that didn't require abandoning his family. A love that didn't come wrapped in insecurity and cruelty. A love that wasn't chosen out of loneliness. And for the first time in years, he finally had it.